Welcome to the Let Me Guide You series for BsnessObjects Cloud, SAP's analytics solution for running business intelligence, planning, or predictive analytics in a full cloud-based environment. Everything running on the HANA Cloud platform, so you leverage the in-memory performance of HANA. This is the home screen of SAP BusinessObjects Cloud. My name is Iver van der Zand, and I'm going to show you how to create a first model based on an external Excel file. That Excel file is over here. It is a very simple file. If I explain quickly, it is based on orders that you see over here. Orders can occur at a certain date. So we have dates. They are handled by cities and countries. Of course, we have some metrics like the revenue, the budget against it, and we also have the forecast. I have two derived metrics that I calculated already, but we will later do that also in BsnessObjects Cloud. Every order is handled by a city where I have long and let information. And very important, this data has a little bit financial metadata with it. So every order is allocated at a profit and loss element. Different elements roll up to a profit and loss group, and different profit and loss groups roll up to a higher level P&L, which has cost and revenue as its two pillars. Going back to BsnessObjects Cloud, if I start modeling and preparing my data, there are various ways to start using these startup icons. What I always do is I go to the menu, I tick Modeler and Models, which brings me to the overview of all the models I have access to, which are listed over here, which you can rank. I can refresh the page, search for models. There are more options which I will discuss later on, but I'm going to use the plus button to explain that I want to create a new model. If I do that, it brings me to this screen. I can either start from a blank model, so creating the dimensions and measures myself and load it with data later on. I can use a specific data source, for example, an online connection to HANA. That's for another exercise. Over here, I can pick up data from any other cloud-driven source like SuccessFactors, Salesforce, Concur, Google Drive. Well, you can see the list over here. Plus, I can import data from a file that I have on my computer. And this is the one that I'm going to use right now, accessing my Excel file. So I'm going to tick import model from file, and I am asked to select the location of the file, which is the one that we just had a look at, and it's stored over here. So it asks me what sheet from that file I want to use. I want to use this record sheet. By the way, if you connect to offline data like an Excel, when I make the import, the data is going to be loaded into the HANA Cloud platform. So the data is moved. I tick import. And this brings me to this overview screen where I can prepare and model my data. The indication says I have 11 dimensions, 288 rows for the moment. This is the data set and the naming. I can give it a description, fin controlling sample. I get an indication whether my mapping is complete. If there are omissions, it's being highlighted over here. You can tick every individual omission and you get some guidance on what you need to change. The same goes for data quality issues. I don't have data quality issues detected for the moment. In a later video, I will on purpose load the dataset with issues so that you can see that you are really guided with markers and indicators and alerts what elements are wrong and how you can fix them. An important section is over here. I use the first rows as column headers, and I'm going to tick this one, planning enabled. It means that I can also embed business planning applications in my model. Yeah, this has repercussions for the way that you visualize. It gives you a little bit more possibilities if you tick this box. Again, in a later video, I will indicate you what the differences are. And I'm going to change the currency indicator in euros. Before I take creating the model, I'm going to review the different columns that I have, looking whether everything is correct. So the first one is revenue, and you can see on this little icon over here that BsnessObjects Cloud recognizes this as a measure. Yeah, I can change it into a dimension or a time driven, but I leave it as measure, and I'm going to change the name in revenue. So this brings me to the next one, budget. I'm going to change that in budget, and let me finish the model. Over here is city and country. Both are indicated as dimensions correctly, and you see that I get nicely an overview of all the attributes in my dimension. Over here the same for country. Again, no omissions indicated. I can add attributes. For example, if I have a country idea or something like that, I could change that. The date, I need to change this one because it's now indicated as a dimension, and I want it to be a time indicator type, which will mean that BsnessObjects Cloud automatically creates a hierarchy for it. Year and quarter, I leave that as is. Month, I leave that as is for the moment. And I'm going to the next one, forecast. I'm going to rename that into forecast Outlook. These ones are correctly indicated as measures, the delta between the revenue and the plan. I will change that in delta rev_plan. Oops. The forecast accuracy, that is a metric that I calculated in the Excel file already. I leave it as is. We are going to redo the calculation later on. Long and lat. I'm going to use on this level. So each order is placed at a specific location. And if I look at the order, what I can do is I can tick the three little dots over here, and I have a number of options in each column. I can duplicate, hide, or delete a column, combine. For example, if I want, I can split, do convert cases. But interesting is this lower one, create a location. So I'm going to create a location by coordinate. I tick that button and I give the dimension a name, location, and I can give it a tooltip text. So if you hover, that is going to be the city. The identifier is the order, and the longitude and latitude I have in my data set. So I'm going to pick those up. Create, and I will now get some information over here. You see that I have 13 valid indicated locations and no omission. The order backlog is a measure. I need to change that. And I'm going to leave the others, P&L, P&L element, and P&L group as is. They are correctly indicated for the moment. Over here you can see that the hierarchy that I created for the long lat on order level generated a new column. This allows me to create a model, and I'm going to tick that button right after I've shown you that everything I've changed so far is being stored in an history overview. Yeah, so I perfectly get an idea on what has been happening, and so you can always have a trace back on what you changed or did not change while modeling your model. The nice thing with the history is that if you tick it, for example, it's going to undo what you changed, and you can always tick it back. If you see over here, I ticked it right now. Yeah, so it's going to undo what I've done. So I can tick it again to reactivate, and of course the other steps are in sequence, so I need to reactivate those too. So just to give you an indication that you have full trace on what you have been changing to the model and change that back. So I have applied everything yet, and now I'm going to create the model. So I tick create, and when I tick the OK, then it starts creating the different dimensions that you see happening on the screen. This brings me to the following section of the screen. So I have imported my model, and I can now start fine-tuning my model. Given the fact that I've indicated that I wanted this to be a planning model, I get this screen where I can define the granularity and also the period the planning allocations apply. I'm going to quickly change this in 2 weeks, 2 months backwards and 2 months forwards. We will discuss later on. Over here you can see how my rolling forecast is indicated right now, but I'd like to focus on the following screens. In accounts, I get an overview of all the measures that I have indicated in my model. You can see it over here, and I'm going to change a few things over here. For example, the forecast accuracy is a dividing of forecast outlook by revenue. So I'm going to change the aggregation type to none, and I'm going to indicate this as a percentage and make it an average. So that it doesn't add up all the different percentages. Yeah, so just as a small idea for you to have a look how it works. A second, as a cost check, I have calculated the forecast delta already in the Excel, but I'm going to do a cost check and create that metric also over here. Which should be the same measure, of course. So let me call this check delta forecast. Check delta forecast. It's going to be a normal one, and over here I have a possibility to create a formula. I'm going to double tick that. And if I take this little pencil, I get the advanced formula editor where you can very simply just start typing the first letter of the elements you want to use. So revenue minus forecast, this one, and I'm going to OK that. And here you see that I have my revenue minus forecast. Yeah. So next is that I am going to create some hierarchies for you. And let me start with the following. So if I go through these three over here, P&L, P&L elements, and P&L group. The lowest level is P&L elements, which you see over here. These are the values that I have in my data set. They roll up to P&L group, and that section rolls up to P&L. Let me start with P&L elements. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click in the first record and I'm going to add a hierarchy. We'll give that a name, P&L hierarchy. So what you do is a very simple trick. You see over here on my right hand side, by clicking the hierarchy, I have all the different levels at the lowest data level. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the P&L group and I just select the next level up. So I hover over the cells, Ctrl C, copy it. I go back to P&L and I paste those levels over here. Here you go. You see that I have a wet indicator. It means that every line needs an idea. So I'm just making a simple idea. So I call for. And now I can start working. So what I can do is the following. Based on my Excel file, I know how these different P&L elements levels are divided over the groups, and I can start using drag and drop to do so. So the accommodation level belongs to the cost of sales. So what I can do, I can just drag and drop it and put it over here. You see that it is now part of the cost of sales. And you also see over here in the hierarchy that accommodation rolls up to element P1, which you see over here. Yeah. So if I do that for the next one, automobile travel, which is rolled up to local expenses. I found that in my Excel sheet. You see that it's now indicated over here. Automobile travel rolls up to level P2, which is the local expenses. Well, I will finalize it right now for you, giving you a third example, and the rest I will leave out of this video. The third one is bonus, and bonus rolls up to personal expenses. As you can see, bonus now, you can either do this manually if that's easier for you, or you can use the drag and drop facility. I will now finalize the model. As you can see, I've now finalized the model. I can easily change things, do it manually. If I want to change that, then you will see that this one is changing in the model. Put it back where it belongs. So over here it is okay again. So one level up. So we've done the first level from P&L elements to P&L group. Yeah. Next level up is the highest level, being cost and revenue. Again, I'm going to copy that. I'm going back to my core where I created a hierarchy. I'm going to bring those elements in, give them an indicator. And over here I can do it the same thing again. So let's do it manually right now. So I know that sales and operating is the only one that is located to P6. So I'll put that one over there, and these one are all P5. So cost related elements. So instead of dragging and dropping, I now key it in myself. So here you can see my new hierarchy that I've created, and again you have the drag and drop options. I can even tick over here where it's being used. In this section I've only one model for the moment. Yeah, so this is a very nice way, I believe, to work with the data. Let me do one more. So I also do it for the countries. So I create a little hierarchy over here very quickly for you and call this country hierarchy. And so again, I'm going to copy and paste the 4 countries that we have over here. Go back to city. I'll put them over here. give them an indicator. So C1, C2, C3. And I can start dragging and dropping. So let me quickly do that for you. Oops, Toulouse is France, of course. And the last few ones, Bern is Switzerland, Berlin to Germany, and Basel to Switzerland. Yep, as you can see over here, I could even do a high level, all countries, all cities, countries, sorry, give that a C4, C5 indicator, and by result, everything is C5 over here. So I have a top level that I can use. So two examples of how to create hierarchies, and we have created our little measure with a formula, and which allows me now to save my model and start working on the next step, being a story. So I've saved my model right now. I'm going to close this and I'm going to create a new story. So I ticked the story buttons over here, and over here are the different stories to visualize information. Again, a similar menu. I'm going to tick the plus button. We come back to the later features later on. And I have the following options. I can immediately import data if I don't want to model and work directly with the exploration view. I will show you later on. Add a grid, or like we do in this case, add a canvas. So I add a canvas and I can start creating charts, geomaps, or whatever. So let me create a chart, and the first thing that BsnessObjects Cloud is asking me is what model I want to use. So let us create the model that we created together ourselves, which is this one, the financial controlling samples. I'm going to tick that, which brings me to the first analysis over here, where we can start using our model. So let me create let's start with this bar chart, and let us bring in two metrics that we have available. So the budget and the revenue. And let me add a dimension and start with, for example, the city that we created, just to show you that we have this hierarchy available. So over here is my first chart. I created two metrics, used two measures, revenue and budget. And over here is the all countries, which was the highest level that we created in the hierarchy. I'm going to tick that. And over here you can see I have now available the drill down button, so I can tick it. And you see it brings me to the different countries I have indicated in my model. And if I tick Switzerland, I can drill down, for example, and go to the different levels over there. Yeah. Just to show you a new, let me create a new chart over here. Again, it asks me what model I'd like to use. I can, of course, use a different model and as such combine different types of data in one visualization. But let us continue with the one we created. If you just tick, it will always show you the last model used. So that's the one we already worked on together. And if I scroll to the right a little bit and go over here, we can create together let's create a stacked bar column and use the dimension of the P&L element that we created together and add as measures. Well, let's start with the forecast outlook and the check delta forecast element that you see over here. So again, I have perfectly over here the hierarchy that we created. If I now take cost, I can again drill down, and it brings me to the different elements that we have shown together. Thank you for your attention. I will invite you to have a look at the next videos that I'm creating, where we focus a little bit more on both creating a model without the planning function, and I will show you what the implications are for the visualization, and there will be a few videos on visualization tips and tricks on how to best get the best results in BsnessObjects Cloud.